I'm gonna be honest, I really don't like enchantments as an archetype. My big 3 issues is that firstly, they're too simple. 2, it's repetitive. Like, it's just the same game over and over again, especially if you're playing shrines. And 3, and most importantly, I keep losing to it. Like, seriously, it's not fair all the time. It's just enchantment. And I should tell you, I'm a very biased person. A lot of what I talk about is my personal experience and thoughts. And even though I could be very sarcastic with my opinion, like seriously, a lot of you guys didn't get that when I made my first video, what I talk about is very much my own opinion. And personally, I can't build this disgusting archetype because it really is not what I like. However, what I am capable of doing is analyzing an archetype and what makes it work, and going into what goes into the decks. That makes sense. That is a sentence. I'm good at talking. Generally speaking, enchantments have less to do with synergy and more to do with playing into its individual parts. A lot of enchantments, especially above mana cost 5, are massive bombs in your average pod, meaning that they have less to do with each other and more to do by themselves, which is what makes them strong. What comprises the backbone of an enchantment deck is keeping your hands full and letting the enchantments do their own thing. If I were to rate between enchantments and mono blue decks, I'm pretty sure they're even in card draw. It doesn't make sense. A great example of this is sagas. Now, sagas are always doing things in a game of Magic. You basically snowball your games while you also continue your game plan, like a Planeswalker deck. And with one of its weaknesses is that eventually every saga ends. And most saga commanders actually negate this effect by either manipulating their lore counters or replacing the saga upon death. I know, it's disgusting. So, in a commander setting, sagas are hard to deal with snowball machines because interaction doesn't mean anything against an enchantment deck. Most of these decks either recur the enchantment or replace it with a bigger and stronger one. That's not fair. This, in turn, is my biggest issue with enchantment decks. You can't win. Now you got a little bit of this, you got a little bit of this, you got a little bit of this. I particularly do not like this one. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be in the pod with a guy that I have to target out every single game just to get a chance at winning. And you may say, why not just run more board wipes? Why not just run more removal? Why don't you blah, 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 blah. But here is my reply. Have you seen the kind of board wipes it would take to take out an enchantment deck while keeping your game strategy going? Because firstly, if I'm running a destroy all enchantments card in my deck, then I technically have wasted a slot for the off chance that I go against an enchantment deck. And secondly, for the wipes that destroy enchantments and creatures, I would be resetting the entire board, and therefore the enchantment player will inevitably get back to where they were, because enchantment decks just have that sort of nepotism from wizards. And third, and most importantly, enchantment decks do not care about destruction. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've seen an enchantment deck come back from the brink of death after a board wipe to just wipe my pod off the face of the earth without even being able to get back to where they were. So the bigger question is, what are the ways you can build an enchantment deck? Enchantment decks usually either use green, white, both sometimes, and the reason being is that they have the most support for an enchantment-based deck. Now, enchantment decks either revolve around recursion, casting, or using creatures in some way. And from there, it stems into multiple different sub-archetypes, like sagas, auras, or shrines. Each one has its pros and cons, and in some cases, it even intertwines over each other. Now, I would like to continue in explaining further painstaking detail about each one. However, I would hate to inspire more people to build more enchantment decks. So with that, I bid you adieu, and probably talk about Mutate or Spellslinger next. Or maybe